such an athlete. Like everything about your conversation is always like putting wins on the board, knocking them down one by one. This is you. Like, you cannot escape that. No, I love it because as a person who didn't grow up playing sports, and became an athlete in my adult life, when I became a fitness competitor, I always had the mindset, but I didn't have the belief, when I was it was always there, but I didn't have the belief. And it took me a long time to catch into the belief. So you talked about a book just now. You talked about the book Grit that you just suggested, because that's actually one of our questions from the audience. Jada Fuller out of Atlanta asked, what books do you recommend for someone looking to take the next step in their job or career? So the first one I'm going to assume is Grit.
Yes. And audio book it if you don't have time. And at the end of the day, all you hear is everything you already know. What is your belief system? How do you think about and deploy passion in what you do every day? That's where I do believe, and it sounds a little Pollyanna, but if you don't love some component of what you're doing, don't stop. We all need our paychecks, but start to explore, what can you love? What do you gravitate towards? And can you profit off of that? And can you thrive off of that? That's the first thing. Grit helps you think about, like, brass tacks, what it takes to just move forward no matter the challenge. Start with why.
Who's the author of Grit? Who's the author of Grit?
Grit is a woman named Angela Duckworth.
Angela Duckworth, the book is Grit. Okay, that's number one. First book, Grit, Angela Duckworth. What's your next book?
Second book, Start with Why by Simon Sinek. And so I would say two things. Simon, follow him on Instagram. I don't know him, but like, he in the mornings is just, he'll give it to you the way you may not even know you need to hear it to keep getting through that day. Podcast search for Angela and Simon. They just have a really smart way of simplifying. The other thing that I think about, and I'm constantly doing in my life, and we haven't talked about this, but simplifying. Mm-hmm. In the most complex of days, situations, problems, moments, take it down to the most simplified nugget to try to understand what needs to be true for you in your life or for the work that you're doing. And if you can simplify it down, complex gets easy, and you start, like, the matrix slows down and you can start to move through anything. Simon talks about the why. And if you can really understand and identify the why, there's nothing you don't unlock in your mind and in the work that you deliver in the world. And then the last book I would say is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, Sincero.
Love her.
Yes.
Her, because I just did the You're a Badass at Making Money on audio.
I saw
a couple months ago.
yes. And like, your own personal sense of self and confidence is, you just said it, when you started working out, you didn't know the athlete. You don't have to be a competitive athlete. Something in you that drives you gives you the mentality of an athlete. And Brandi, you talked about, you didn't unlock it earlier, and it was always there.
It was always
because
there.
we got in our own way.
Yeah.
And so just surrounding yourself with material that helps remind you of exactly who you are and that you are here for a reason is all I read and all I listen to, and the podcast I love, because it just keeps me focused on me to make the world and others better because of what I can offer them.
Yeah. So there's some folks out there, you're going to give these 3 books, baby, and I know they're not going to go get that book. They're not going to go read that book. They might need a little something, start them off just with a little less words. Okay. So then what's a podcast that you would suggest to our audience that you are on right now? And it could be, it could be all about career development, or it could be that thing that, this is what I listen to when I'm just needing something to take my mind off of Google.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I am a sucker for period pieces and like sci-fi. Okay. So like I listen to like Game of Thrones podcasts, so I could just hear that is how I check out.
About House of the Dragons, but as Black folks, we say House of Dragons. We just call it the Dragons.
so find your zone out. I love shows also like Vibe Check. That's just like culture talking culture. I think that there's a couple that I have learned from, and it's interesting. They were like surprisers. I just started listening to Earn Your Leisure. Have you heard of these two guys?
Well, yes, I mean, the interview that blew them up was Mr. Steve Harvey, put them all
I
on.
should have known. I should have known. Yes.
Kind of took them off to the next level, skyrocketed them with that interview.
They simplify finances, and we often we look away from it because it seems complicated. So I just love how they just make it simple. And then I just listen to NPR, like Marketplace Tech, like the morning NPR, just starting the day. So it's anywhere from, the read and vibe check to like listening to finance through human language, to just pure marketing podcast. So we could share a playlist, but what's nice about it is just like play it in the background. Yeah. You don't even have to actively listen, and you'd be shocked at how much sinks in and how you start to think about the world a little different.
Absolutely.